Hey guys, I'm Sadie and I'm 34 years old. I've always had a knack for finding that perfect balance between petty and justified. You know, back in high school, I was the unofficial queen of pettiness. I wasn't someone who would back down easily when someone wronged me, so when it came to dealing with my husband Charles's family, I had a special set of skills to keep things in check. Charles and I were a perfect match. He was the calm, introverted one, and I was the fiery, outspoken extrovert. It was like we were made for each other. However, things became complicated when it came to his mother, Beatrice, and his sister, Adeline. Beatrice, my mother-in-law, was a strict, no-nonsense lady. She had high expectations for her family and was never shy about voicing her complaints. She had a way of making any issue seem like a life or death situation. There was just no satisfying her, and she was always ready to confront someone if things didn't go her way. Then there was Adeline, Charles's younger sister. She had inherited her mother's confrontational nature and the art of being spoiled. It seemed like she believed the world owed her something, and she had mastered the art of making demands. As if Charles hadn't warned me enough, I soon found out that Charles's family gatherings were always an adventure filled with endless complaints and confrontations. Beatrice and Adeline seemed to thrive on it, like they were energy vampires. They were like a tag team, always finding someone to be upset about. It was exhausting. Over the years, I honed my skills in dealing with their drama. I had to navigate the stormy waters of family gatherings with poise and sometimes, yes, a little pettiness. But it was all in good fun, and it was the only way to survive the emotional roller coaster that was Charles's family. I knew how to maintain my cool and hold my ground when they tried to push my buttons. I had mastered the art of passive aggressiveness, and I was ready to serve a fresh slice of petty whenever necessary. It wasn't about winning arguments or battles. It was about protecting my sanity. Our conversations would look something like this. Sadie, darling, this chicken is quite dry. I hope your kitchen skills are better than this. Yeah, and your place could use some tidying up. I thought we were going to have dinner in a clean home. Well, Beatrice, if the chicken isn't to your liking, you're welcome to bring your own next time. I'd hate to burden you with a dry meal. And Adeline, I'm sure you could always stay at your pristine palace if my home doesn't meet your standards. Oh, I see you haven't lost your sharp tongue, Sadie. Don't try to be funny, Sadie. We're just giving you some friendly advice. And I'm just returning the favor, dear. It would become a shouting match at some point, and Charles would have to step in and de-escalate things. Let's just say that people with a high school bully mentality and someone like me just don't mix well. Charles and I always shared a dream of having a bigger house. We were hard workers, committed to our vision of success. Our plan was to start our own business and step away from the daily grind of working for others. We believed that with determination and effort, we could shape our future just the way we wanted it. Our journey began with an Etsy shop, offering a variety of handcrafted items from jewelry to knitted goods. We also ventured into drop shipping, which allowed us to expand our product range without the need for physical inventory. Beyond that, we dreamed of creating our own line of perfumes and colognes once we achieved greater stability. We were the perfect team, driven by ambition and dedication, always looking for opportunities to turn our dreams into reality. However, our enthusiasm wasn't met with support from my in-laws. Beatrice and Adeline, which surprised literally no one because they're just haters. Despite all our budding achievements, they were quick to criticize our business ventures. It felt like Every milestone we reached was met with skepticism and criticism, which was not at all constructive. Their words and attitudes seemed almost designed to undermine our confidence. Adeline's condescending tone was hard to ignore. She would often say things like, "You really believe you can make a living selling handcrafted items online? That's adorable." I couldn't help but wonder why they seemed so determined to knock us down. Were they jealous? Or did they prefer that Charles continue his corporate career? We had worked tirelessly to build our business and prove its viability. The lack of support from Beatrice and Adeline was frustrating and disheartening. Hating me was one thing, but also hating on your own son, brother? These women were miserable. Charles and I discussed our feelings and struggles with his family's lack of encouragement. Together, we reminded each other of our achievements and the satisfaction that came with being our own bosses. We decided to focus on the progress we had made and the positive aspects of our journey. Our business was growing, and we believed in its potential. "Charles, I can't stand the way your sister and your mom always belittle us and criticize everything we do." "I know, Sadie, but I've been dealing with that my entire life. I've grown used to it." "Well, that doesn't mean you should just accept it. We're working hard to achieve our dreams, and we don't need their negativity. You need to talk to them." "Bold of you to assume they'd even listen to me." "Babe, I know you're not super confrontational, but I think it's high time you take some action. If they're not listening to you, then maybe it's time we distance ourselves from them." "I don't think I could ever cut them off, though. They're family." "Charles, you've got to remember that blood isn't always thicker than water. If they're toxic and holding us back, maybe we need to distance ourselves from them for the sake of our dreams." "I hear what you're saying, but it's just not that simple." "We can't let them hinder our success. It's time to stand up for ourselves and our future, no matter who it is we have to stand up to." Charles would always say things like this, and bless his soul, he just couldn't imagine letting go of his toxic family. I could understand it, but I always encouraged him to think deeply about the type of people he wanted to keep in his life. Nonetheless, Beatrice and Adeline's skepticism was a test of our determination. Despite their lack of faith in our dreams, we had each other and we believed in ourselves. We would continue to push forward and prove that we were on the right path, even if it meant disapproving our own family members. A couple of years passed, and Charles and I were on top of the world. We had managed to turn our small business into a full-time gig, and it was a dream come true. We had put in the hard work and made sacrifices, and now we were reaping the rewards. Our friends and family were thrilled for us, constantly congratulating us on our accomplishments. Well, everyone except for Adeline and Beatrice, Charles's mother and sister. It didn't surprise me one bit. It seemed like they had always been waiting to see us fail, and when that didn't happen, they couldn't even muster a word of support. Charles was hurt by their indifference, and he'd often come to me to complain. He couldn't understand why they refused to acknowledge our success. It baffled him, because he'd always wanted recognition and praise from his family, especially his mother. He believed that once he'd achieved this level of success, she would finally be proud of him. I tried to comfort him, but I couldn't help but feel frustrated by his expectations. I had seen how Adeline and Beatrice treated us over the years, always undermining our goals and dreams. I asked Charles why he was so surprised. These women had never been supportive, and I couldn't understand why he still sought their approval. Charles explained that despite everything, he had held onto the hope that our success would finally earn him the recognition and love he'd always craved from his family. He longed for his mother's approval, and he couldn't help but hope that this would be the moment she'd change. I put my arm around him, trying to provide comfort. Charles, you need to understand something. Your mother and your sister aren't good people. We've seen how they've treated us, how they've tried to bring us down. Their lack of support now doesn't change who they are. You're an incredible person, and your worth shouldn't be defined by their approval or disapproval. Charles nodded, and I could see the struggle in his eyes. Breaking free from the need for his family's validation wasn't easy, but I knew he was capable of it. He had built something wonderful with me, and that success should be enough for anyone. Another year rolled by, and Charles and I had managed to save up enough money for a down payment on our dream house. It was a beautiful home with 6 rooms, 7 bathrooms, a pool, and a hot tub. The neighborhood was ideal, and we couldn't believe our luck. We decided to get a mortgage just to be on the safe side. And with all the paperwork in place, we finally signed the deal and moved into our new home. It was a dream come true, and we couldn't be more grateful. We shared our journey and experiences through vlogs, updating our loved ones on the progress and updating the family group chat. The praise and congratulations poured in from friends and family, all except for Adeline and Beatrice. Their lack of support and approval was par for the course. However, this time, Charles didn't seem to be as affected as before. He had come to realize that seeking validation from people who were always unsupportive was a losing battle. It was a realization that made me proud of him. Adeline and Beatrice noticed the change in Charles. He wasn't constantly vying for their attention and validation anymore. This shift was unsettling to them, as they were accustomed to his updates and reports on his life. However, they couldn't ignore our new home, so it was me who broke the news to them. With a sense of accomplishment, I typed out the message and sent it to the family group chat, sharing our excitement about the new house. Their response was chilly, but Charles remained unfazed. I was having a peaceful afternoon when my phone rang. I saw Adeline's name on the caller ID. When I answered, I also heard Beatrice's voice was in the background, so they were together. They asked me why Charles wasn't talking to them as often as before, and I couldn't help but be candid with them. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that you two can be quite toxic for him. What? Toxic? How dare you? I'm pretty sure it's you who's the toxic one. He was never acting like this before he met you. You've poisoned him. No, all I did was tell him that he deserved to be around people who loved him and supported him. I guess he no longer thinks that you two fit the criteria. You think you're all high and mighty? You think you're better than us? Well, just wait and see. We'll get back at you for trying to turn Charles against us. You should be upset because he's finally realized his worth. It's about time he stopped seeking validation from people who have always been unsupportive. You both are awful, and I'm glad I didn't grow up with such hateful and unsupportive people. I wonder how Charles managed to be the sweetest and kindest man I know, considering he had people like you around him. I'm not scared of you two. Your days of bullying Charles and me are over. We're finally living in our dream home, far away from all the BS you bring. Adeline and Beatrice were furious, promising to ruin my life for what I had said. I didn't let their threats get to me and simply hung up the call, knowing that I no longer needed the toxicity in my life. After we'd kind of settled into our new home, there came a day that brought us an unexpected surprise. Adeline and Beatrice appeared at our front door. Charles, ever the friendly one, greeted them and invited them inside, but I remained cautious. I couldn't help but ask, "What are you doing here?" Their presence felt unusual, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. And that's when Adeline revealed that they had come to see the house and congratulate us on this major achievement. It was the first time we had ever received such support from Adeline and Beatrice, so we were really shocked. They seemed genuinely interested, complimenting the house and saying it looked like a vacation home. Charles was ecstatic to finally receive some praise and recognition, and he couldn't stop smiling. However, I couldn't help but feel skeptical and reserved. I whispered to Charles that I still didn't fully trust them, but I didn't want to dig too deep and put a damper on his happiness, so I put on a polite front for the day. Once Beatrice and Adeline left, we finally had some time alone to talk about what had just happened. You know, Sadie, I'm really glad my mom and sister finally came by. It feels like they're treating me with kindness and respect for the first time. Maybe this is the start of something new. Feels like they're turning a new leaf. It's nice that they dropped by, but I can't help but feel like there might be ulterior motives behind this sudden change. You're being a bit paranoid, don't you think? People can change, and maybe they're just trying to make an effort. I do believe people can change, but I find it hard to believe that they could change so quickly. I'm not saying I won't give them a chance, but I'll keep my guard up just in case. Suit yourself. As for me, though, I'm going to invite them for coffee tomorrow. The very next day, we gathered for that coffee date Charles had proposed. Unfortunately, during the day, Charles was called in to tend to a work emergency, leaving Beatrice, Adeline, and me alone together. Yay. And that's when I noticed the abrupt change in their demeanor. The nice girl act they had put on just the day before was gone. They began to shout insults at me, hurling words like daggers. I tried to keep my cool, but their behavior was unacceptable. I asked them to leave if they couldn't behave themselves, but that's when Beatrice dropped a bombshell. She said, "Actually, I don't think we will, because this house doesn't belong to you." I was taken aback. Confused by her statement, it didn't make sense. Adeline and Beatrice began to reveal their sinister plan, and it became clear that their earlier kind words had been nothing more than a facade. What the hell are you talking about? You see, when we saw the pictures, we said that this was a really nice house. And we saw it in person yesterday. It looked even better. Needless to say, we really enjoy this house. In fact, we enjoy it so much that we think that it shouldn't belong to you. Excuse me? Did you do some drugs before coming here? I'm being serious, Sadie. I mean, really, think about it. After everything my daughter has accomplished, I think that this house belongs to her. What the hell is wrong with you? Why do you want to do this? I want it for Adeline because she deserves it more than Charles and you do. My jaw dropped. You're both going crazy if you think you can just take this house away from us. You'd better leave before I call the cops. Beatrice, however, remained unfazed. I don't need your permission, Sadie. I just need to convince Charles, and believe me, that won't be hard. He's always wanted our approval, and he'll do anything to get it. We'll get this house one way or another. You'd be better off putting Adeline's name on the deed now so we can move in and enjoy our new home. Their audacity left me speechless. They got up and they left, presumably to get ready to butter up my husband with their lies. Luckily for me, I had been recording the whole conversation. When Charles came home that night, I sat him down and recounted the entire ordeal with his mother and sister, emphasizing that they were a different breed of evil. I played the recording for him, and he listened with growing anger and disappointment. He thought they were finally extending kindness, but it had all been a ploy to manipulate him into agreeing to their ridiculous proposal. I shared my plan to get back at them. We would agree to their demand of giving the house to Adeline, but we would also sign over the mortgage. They probably thought the house was fully paid for, but that wasn't the case. Charles agreed with the plan and admired my strategic thinking, so we set out to put it into action. Charles called Adeline and told her that the house would be hers by the end of the week. She should be prepared to move in, he said. Adeline and Beatrice were ecstatic, taking pleasure in rubbing it in my face, thinking they had the upper hand and had finally avenged my advice to Charles about valuing himself more and keeping toxic people out of his life, even if they were family. We continued to act oblivious, quickly moving back to our old home, which we took off the market. The charade was far from over, and we were determined to teach them that we weren't to be trifled with. Shortly after Charles and I handed over the house to Adeline, she was ecstatic, saying that Beatrice would be moving in with her soon. They couldn't wait to enjoy their new home. We continued to play along, acting oblivious and congratulating Adeline on the new house. We agreed with her when she said that she deserved it, even though we knew what was coming. A whole month went by, and I started receiving a barrage of calls from both Adeline and Beatrice. Guess it was time to pay their dues. After a few ignored calls, I finally answered Beatrice's call. "Sadie, do you know about the mortgage on this house?" But of course. Thanks for covering it, by the way." Well, we can't afford this." "What did you expect from such a lavish house?" "We thought the house was paid off. This is ridiculous. Why didn't you say anything?" "Why would I say anything? Your daughter was the homeowner after we signed her name on the deed. Why didn't you two check about the clauses and the agreements?" "I didn't think that this would happen. You have to help us, please." I couldn't help but laugh at Beatrice's naivety, which only angered her further. I seized the opportunity to let her in on the secret, revealing that Charles had been aware of all of this. The plan to bamboozle them and to laugh in their faces when they realized they were screwed. He knew everything. Beatrice was shocked to hear that her son had a hand in their predicament. If you mistreat someone enough times, they realize that they're better off without you. Can't say I didn't see this coming, and I can't say I'm sorry either. You two are horrible people, and you deserve to be humiliated and kicked out of my home." In the background, I could hear Adeline crying, not knowing what to do. The two of them had already sold their houses, and they couldn't get them back. "Well, what the hell do you want us to do? Where are we supposed to go?" "I don't know, and I don't care. Leave me out of your BS. You brought this onto yourselves." "But we have nothing. We don't have any money." "You better find a way to make money then. Hey, I have an idea. What about drop shipping?" With that, I hung up and shared the call's outcome with Charles. We both had a good laugh and felt a sense of satisfaction in the way things had turned out.